Energy is changing and the way we buy and consume energy is changing all the time. So when is an energy company going to start charging you to export energy to them? Now that might seem ludicrous today, but it is the future of possible energy, especially with smart meters and ever evolving green tech on the national grid, constantly balancing demand and supply. So soon supply actually might be an oversupply, and that might be an issue, which means that the energy company and the national grid need a way to deter you from exporting energy to them at certain times. And with the use of smart meters, they may actually implement charges to you. So today's video, we're going to look about how that might look and how you don't really need to worry just yet. Coal production here ended in the UK, which means that there's no more coal generation, and eventually we're going to see more and more green power like solar and wind enter the national grid. This means that flexibility in the way the national grid works has to adapt with supply and demand. Now the problem we do have is if we have a really sunny day and a really windy day, and that just happens to coincide at the same time, that we just don't need the energy. Maybe it's a Sunday or it's a sort of late afternoon on a very warm summer's day, so less people are going to be cooking and using ovens. So just basically trying to play that wind and solar energy depending on demand might mean the national grid now needs to pull certain levers to put you off exporting energy, especially as we've got more people using solar systems, but not only that, but storing energy in batteries and then maybe forcing export in the evening, maybe when the national grid doesn't need it. So some controls, weights and balances are going to have to be put into place to control how we use our energy and export it. Now currently, these little fellas, Octopus Energy, are probably one of the most evolving companies when it comes to this kind of space of energy. In fact, they have a dedicated system about buying and selling energy called Kraken. So good that they sell it to other energy companies, not here in the UK, but all over the world. It's one of probably the most evolved systems for buying and selling green energy as the systems evolve. But they also have special tariffs to customers. Now, one of the customers' deals is called Agile, and as the name sounds, it's very agile. You have to be an agile customer to be on it. In fact, Martin Lewis once made a remark quite recently, you've got to be quite a savvy, smart customer to be on an agile deal, because the prices change every 30 minutes. So every 30 minutes, there's a new price that you'll pay for that half an hour slot. That means that when there's lots of wind, lots of solar energy, prices can go to zero or even negative. That means that they'll pay you to consume energy on Agile at times, but at the same time, it can go the other way. When there's a lack of demand, when there's lots of demand but a lack of supply, prices can go very high. They do have an absolute price cap at the top, but they can hit the cap quite regular, and it could hit the cap not only during peak times but other times during the day where there may be low supply, high demand. Now there's also Agile Export. Now Agile Export pays the Agile export rate. Basically, if there is low supply and high demand, you could be paid more money to export your solar or battery. Now at the moment, when there is high supply and low demand, Agile could just hit zero for the export. It doesn't go into a part where you'd pay Octopus if it went, but basically they didn't need the supply. But that's not to say it might not change that in the future. Now, at the moment, there is no plans that I've heard of from Octopus to change this, but I'm just theorizing the way the future energy could look. Now, Octopus do other things when it comes to supply and demand. If there is a very windy, sunny day and you're even not on an Octopus Agile tariff, you just got a smart meter from Octopus, they will allow you to use that energy sometimes for free. So I get frequent texts off Octopus, consume energy during this 1 hour slot, and anything that you consume over your normal use is free. So I could charge up my batteries, plug my car in, cook my tea early, and the idea is to shift that high demand that where you might be using it later on when there's less supply, to bring you forward maybe 2 or 3 hours earlier when there's lots of supply but no demand, to shift that demand, keep those wind turbines turning so they don't have to pay to turn those turbines off, and means that basically we're using that redundant amount of energy that's on the national grid, but just shifting it away from another part. Now, if you're not an Octopus customer at the moment, there is a link over at my website, evnick.com/energy, and if you sign up there, you'll actually get to split £100 with me when you sign up. But as more wind turbines and solar farms get built, Octopus is going to struggle to shift that demand over to the oversupply. In other words, there's eventually going to be too much supply of renewable energy at the wrong times, basically times that people aren't consuming it and Octopus can't kind of force you to suck it in. So eventually they're going to have to enter some tariffs to stop people from exporting. So that might be turning off wind turbines, and that might be stopping people exporting solar power. Now, first, it's going to start with big generators. So wind farms, solar farms, they're all going to be punished first, but they're already seeing that happening. That's why a lot of wind farms now, a lot of solar farms now are already having on-site battery storage as part of the plan, because if there is a really poor wholesale price, or they're going to be asked to turn off, they might as well, if they're generating, store that power, and then when the grid price is high again later on, export it. So that brings the question, should you be still looking for solar panels? Of course, it's still time to get solar. You'd be mad not to get solar. Solar is so cheap at the moment, but also prices are still, in the UK, relatively high to buy energy. In fact, you could just do what turbine and solar farms are doing, and that is, if I was you buying solar, I would not buy solar without a battery. If you're getting solar panels, you need a battery. You need somewhere to store your energy for when you're going to need to use it. And also, if prices did hit zero, or they eventually did introduce a tariff where you had to pay to export the energy, then you could suck that energy in your battery when you need it, and then later on export it for your house. Now, the other advantage is there's other things you can do with that energy. You could also export it when the peak of export is higher. So it might be zero, or they might ask you to pay 10p for every bit you send back to the grid, but 3 or 4 hours later, they might need that energy desperately. The wind might have dropped, the sun might have set, and people are coming home from work, and there is a lack of supply, in which case they'll say, give us your energy and we'll pay you £1 a kilowatt hour. So you could suck it in when they're not going to give you it, and then send it back out later. And there's even some people playing the national grid now at that game. In fact, I'm one of them. What I do at night is I charge the batteries when it's cheap, or when Octopus texts me to say I can have free extra power, I charge those batteries. And then if those batteries are still full near the end of the night, I export that power back to the grid for a profit of, if basically I've got it for free, it's 15p profit. And if I haven't got the energy for free, I'm still earning 7-8p a kilowatt hour on that energy I'm exporting back to the grid. So if you are getting a solar system, I couple it with a battery system. Check out evnic.com/solar. I've done reviews of solar systems, and there's also a link there for my preferred partner, which is Heatable, and they have a discount for people who are getting solar systems, or if you just want a battery system, they've got discounts on battery only systems as well. Now, do I think that solar prices will go negative? Probably not for a normal customer. Yes, there probably will be an agile version of Octopus in the near future when we get to that sort of tipping point of price of solar export. But what's more likely to happen is your energy company will either pay lower overall export for your solar, so they'll just say your solar rate is 5 or 4p, trying to put you as much as possible to export anything, or they'll just say there's no money for export. They'll just say it's 0p for however many kilowatts you export, completely putting you off and trying to shift you into an agile type deal where they can ask you and control when the power is going back to the grid. Now, what's likely going to happen, especially with Octopus, you've already seen them appeal for people to join up to Project Mercury. I'm going to be doing videos about Mercury as I get more information about it, and talk about what they're going to be doing to control batteries, solar, basically a whole host of home devices, including heat pumps and my Cozy 6. Now, if you're interested in learning more about solar, check out this video I did here with Heatable. If you want to learn more about batteries, then maybe see the choice of batteries that Heatable currently sell.